and I've tried it for days. So it's just one of those things where
I'm gonna teach you how to do a hitchhiker then.
Dude,
yeah,
I will do it. I'll do it on a big bike.
Like when hitchhikers came out, and I don't want to jump around, but I know this is all part of it. My uncle helped me with my dad to make, we put bearings on the handlebars. So the bar ends were, bar ends, but we put bearings on them. So you could actually sit in the hitchhiker position and then have someone push you, or you could push and then you could actually get into it and actually get the feeling of it, and then pull up, set down, pull up, set down, but you're not grinding away your handlebars, your grips or anything else. And it's like, you find a little hill, you can haul ass. And it's like, we used bearings, and call that a cheat sheet or whatever it is. Like, I'll own that. Like, that was amazing. It was like, and you see Jones do that, or, anyone doing this stuff. It's like, well, how do you do that? And it's like, so I actually used bearings. So
that's
cheat codes are fine, dude. That's brilliant. It is brilliant, right?
Yeah. Okay. So we're already doing this interview, so we may as well introduce our guest. Because that's how this is how professional we are. Yeah. Like, we always preface like, hey dude, we're not really good at like interviews, because interviews is like a job interview. Tell me about your first bike, Chad. Go. You know what I mean? That's not very fun. That's everybody. Craig and I are really amateur, and so we just kind of like, hey man, I like your shirt. Tell me about your skateboards. Like, that's what we do. So we're already we forgot to introduce you. I apologize. So you guys, first of all, Craig, welcome back again. Still coming back. I like this.
Yeah, man. Half we've been doing this. You keep opening the door, and so what do? I stick my foot in, and I keep creeping back in, dude. Thank you for having me, man.
Yep, you're back. It's a good 2-year run, and you keep showing up, and so that's rad. Thanks for coming, Craig. And you guys, this is Etnies BMX Craig. He's got his Captex Cruiser shirt on. Big shout out to Austin, Texas, and the Captex Cruisers. Love them. And Craig, why don't you introduce our guest? Because I'm super geeking out again, because it's a Flatland guy. So we'll get right into it real quick.
Oh, heck yeah, man. And guess what, guys? We are super stoked to have this guest with us tonight. It's one of the guys who you've probably seen all throughout the 90s, and especially if you were in the Flatland, especially if you were into the BMX scene. We've got Mr. Chad DeGroot tonight. Check him out. Chad, welcome to the show, brother. Thank you for showing up, man. Glad you're here, bro.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys having me. This is gonna be interesting, I think educational, and I'm pretty excited, So yeah, let's get this going.
I'm excited, dude. You guys, I'm a big Chad DeGroot fan. In fact, I still have is it Little Devil or UGP that put it out? The DeGroot of the Loom t-shirt.
It was UGP. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, with Bonner and everything. So yeah, based off of Fruit of the Loom, DeGroot of the Loom. So yeah.
I'll post a picture, you guys. When I was apprenticing as a tattoo artist, I'm in the front of the shop, and it was like my big, like, this was my shop photo, and I'm wearing my Chad DeGroot t-shirt. And so I'll put that on the screen for y'all to enjoy now. There I am.
Little fun fact too, like those t-shirts, what is it called? Is it plastisol or whatnot? It was thick. It was like you sweat around that, and it was like it's like you're wearing like armor on you. Back in
was it like one of those super thick decals that you go in the dryer and you take it out and it's like 130 degrees, and
it didn't melt to the dryer, which I've had that happen before, but it's like, yeah, it was like like you pick up a shirt, the weight of it was all the printing. It was legit, like, so
like stuntmen can wear them, you know what I mean? Like if you're in a Michael Myers movie, you know what I mean, and like you're about to take a pull to the chest, they'll put this on underneath your clothing, and it's almost like like hammer shin guards. It'll give you a bounce off of your chest. Yes, dude.
Exactly. I guess I think of that because I'm feeling my shirt, and I'm like, this is watercolor, and I'm like, oh damn, like so much stuff has changed, but I still have that shirt, and it's pretty amazing, to to like, it was my shirt, but I'm like, I don't have a lot of stuff or memorabilia, and, you know, from back in the day, which I guess owning a bike shop, I talk about that often. And I was like, I wish. And I wish I was like in the whole field of like Trey Jones, where people send him everything. You know, it's like,
Dude, that guy gets everything sent to him.
I have no idea. Like, people come to my shop and drop off boxes of stuff. And I'm like, do you mind if I peek at this? And it's like, whoa, you know, and I'm not like super geek out, but yeah, you got a serious box here. And it's like, yeah. And I've actually given him stuff too, you know, VHS and whatnot, but why not? But it's like, holy crap, you know, it's like, he's got the collection of all collections. And I just went to his birthday party and he's only 29. So it's like,
What?
imagine what he's like when, you know, I'm 47, 48, whatnot.
Yeah.
It's like, are you kidding me? So I think he has an appreciation for stuff like that too, which is, you know, that doesn't happen too often.
Isn't that crazy though? Because a lot of the guests, Chad, that we've had on the show, you know, we've asked them to show us stuff, or what have they kept from, you know, their time in BMX, if they've been out of it or whatnot. Obviously you're still in it, but like, would you ever think that like keeping all that stuff would have been something today? Like, you know, like boxes of your old shirts, your parts, or what bikes you kept. Like, you know, it just doesn't seem to register when you're in the moment. But now people are like, bro, do you got that shirt from 93? Oh my gosh, you know, and it just doesn't.
I mean, yeah, t-shirts are wild, because I think we can open up a BMX closet and it's like, it's probably 90% black shirts or t-shirts. And it's like, it's just too much. And it's like, I guess I feel bad when people ask like, hey, I want to send you a shirt. I'm like, dude, I have so many damn t-shirts, you know, but it's like, I have saved. I mean, I have like a Schwinn zip up with a Chad patch, like mechanics shirt. I have a bunch of standard stuff. I have a decent amount, you know, and with this, when COVID hit, I cleaned out my garage and organized the magazines and did the trophies and really evaluated like what I had. And I mean, I sold some stuff, you know, but it's like, it's crazy, you know. I mean, you don't know when you're that age that to keep it or hold on to it or the value or whatnot. It's like, you have a stain on it. I mean, maybe your mom threw it away. It's like,
yeah. Well, and you look at today, right? And you look online, you go to eBay and just check out some of the vintage, like Vision streetwear, or go check out some, you know, era of correct shirts or part, you know, not even talking about bikes and parts and shit, but it's like just the clothes alone are going for like astronomical prices, or at least, you know, what the market's dictating today. I mean, Isaac, you've checked it out too, right?
Yeah, I geeked out on Anarchic Adjustment, which was Nick Phillips' little brand.
yeah,
Remember those shirts were like,
yeah,
remember they were like $18 and they were expensive for a kid. I remember being a kid being like $18. I'm like, all right, you know, it said freedom, had that big face on it. I was like, dude, this is dope. And then there's another black shirt. It was black print on black, and it said heroin, Satan, fuck on the shirt. And I remember I was 16. I came home with that. My mom's like, yep, we're done. So yeah, I got in so much trouble for buying that shirt. But dude, you go on eBay, those things are like a G now. It's nuts.
I mean, it's I like it though, but I guess I dislike if you find that shirt that is a value of $50 and you see someone selling 300, you know, $300 or whatever. It's like, there's such a price difference in like the same thing, but it is also what you value and how you see it and whatnot. It's like, I mean, I guess I looked at eBay yesterday and I just shook my head. I'm like, you know, for the rumors of that complete bike for 25 grand or blah, blah, blah. When you're talking thousands. I mean, when I was a kid, $100 is the world. Now you're talking, it's up to thousands now. So it's wild. I don't think I'd really want, you know, t-shirts though. I think like something like Trey's doing or whatnot, like he has like people's jerseys, you know, that's cool. Like, and I think like a super sad one would be if someone had to sell like their Nora cup.
Oh like, God,
you know, and it's like, I don't know about
That's
that.
like one of those like NFL guys selling his Super Bowl ring or something.
Yeah, it's
You
like
know, it's just like it doesn't register. Like, oh man, that guy's hurting.
I
yeah,
mean,
Deion
if you're,
Sanders working at a car wash or something.
yeah,
He's over here selling a Super Bowl ring.
but if you're like the Juice, you know, you're OJ, maybe sell that stuff, but that's not going to clear a name.
Right.
Dude.
No, but I guess it's, and everybody has their lows and highs and panic mode, but something like with your name engraved on it, like a Nora cup or something like that, like, I don't know. Yeah, like my friend, like when Salyers died, you know, in a motorcycle accident, Dave Frymouth gave away his standard jersey, but all the money went to the family and went to him and whatnot. And I thought that was super cool to do. And the value of it went up like crazy, which it should too. And getting into like the Mira stuff like that, you know, it's like I'm sitting on a bunch of Mira stuff. I'm sitting on a ton. It's not for any reason aside from being teammates, but I'm not looking to cash in on that stuff like that. I like it. I have his full face, you know, and it's like I've worn it and whatnot. It's like I had Trey hit me up and he's like, dude, I want that full face. And I'm like, nope.
Yeah.
Like, well, I mean, with something like with the Mira thing, Chad, like you
Yeah.
obviously, you know, had a relationship with Dave and stuff. And I mean, hell, you were in Mira 3.
Yep.
But you almost keep those things, not just out of like nostalgia, but just because, you know, it's Mira. And,
Yep. Yeah.
you know, it would almost feel like, to me, it would be like, oh, I can't, I mean, even if this was going for something cool or going to someone who just is like a collector or a fan, it's still connected to Mira for you, you know?
It is. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think the best things I would have is probably like Polaroids. Like I used to, when we travel, I'd take it. Like I remember this one time we woke up early at Woodward and we're going to a contest and Dave was being such an asshole. I took a picture of him and me. He's like, what are you doing, bro? And I was like, hey, can you sign this? He's like, yeah, man, I got it. And I was like, what are you writing on there? I'm like, you're an asshole this morning. And I put the date on it. And I was like, I just started documenting. He's like, dude, I mean, he was like, Chad, you're no fucking joke. You call me out. Like, I just had a bad morning and whatnot. I'm like, dude, I'm trying to make it funny a little bit, but it was like, I still have that Polaroid of him being an asshole that morning. It's like that's a pretty good meaning because I took it, he was there and he signed it. And it's like,
Dude, that's funny.
So good. So, yeah.
What was that like? Okay. So like that, before we get into, because I want to get into a lot of like current stuff, because I'm super excited about a lot of the things that I've seen you doing. I want to talk about Trey's, like I told you, it didn't even dawn on me we could talk about Trey's collection, because I just watched a video on it, the jersey video where he's going through his bedroom and he's like, dude, he's just going through each one of those jerseys. And I'm like, man, look at all that. Because I'm the same way. I'm like, I love nostalgia. And I love seeing like memorabilia, but I didn't keep a damn thing, dude. No one did. Like RL's like, I don't have anything. Scotty Freeman had some leathers that he had when he was a kid. But that's really it, dude. No one kept anything. And you know, you're in good company because you know, none of BMX saved anything as far as we could go.
I mean, it's true. I saved an okay amount. But I guess the display, I'm not Trey. I'm not going to display around my house. I keep it pretty chill, you know, but my main ones, I guess, if I had to say what I do display is my Nora cups. And I feel that's like the Hail Mary. That's like I walk out of the house, I see that, it's appreciation, you know, it's like blood, sweat, tears, whatnot, everything went into that, plus a huge fan base following, a lot of luck and everything else. And it's like, holy crap. I bring up the Nora Cup because one of my friends said to me, and I had to have been drunk, but he's like, you told me if I get married, you'll give me one of those. And I'm like, there's no way I said that. There's no way I said that. And it's like, and there's no way he's getting married either. So he's not a dud, you know, like he's him, but he's not getting married. So I feel pretty safe with that, but I know I didn't say that.
Dude, famous. I feel pretty safe with that because my homie's a dud, dude. I've seen some married duds, bro. I'm just like, I've gone to carnivals. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They have, it happens.
Of course.
But hey, so speaking and kind of touching on that, dude, like when you were starting out, like, because I got introduced to you, for those of you who are watching, like, you remember that the first wave of freestyle came out. We had RL, we had Buff, and then into Eddie Fiola, Martin, that era, Street. And then like right about 91, 92, that's when it got hardcore. And then I remember coming back maybe 94, 95. And I'm guessing dates, dude, because I'm old. And like, for me, it was, I found a kid at a Flatland. I'd given away my ozone. So I'd given up freestyle at this time. And I saw a kid doing freestyle, Flatland freestyle in a tennis court in Modesto. And I stopped and I was like, what kind of bike is that? And he's like, it's a Hoffman Big Daddy. And I'm like, where can I buy one? I used to do Flatland. And dude, for sure, I look like a weirdo, right? Dude pulls up, doesn't know a kid in a parking lot, and is like, tell me about your bike. Where can I buy one? I go down, buy the bike, show up, start riding. Then I got a standard, is it Shorty? Hoffman Big Daddy and a standard Shorty is what I rode.
Mhm.
Wish I had a Dow. Now I found you in the BACO videos, BACO, and then magazines, obviously. Did you know what was happening in like culture? Did you have any idea the impact BACO would have on freestyle and people that saw it at your age?
No, we had no clue. We kind of did our own thing. Music wise, I mean, whether it be Chris Rye or, local band named Vacuum Scam from Green Bay or whoever, it's like, I think we just did our own thing. And I mean, clothing wise, you're talking about the look and everything. I mean, that was like a thrift store phase, is like you're like, you're a size 30, you buy 40 pants or shorts, cut them off into there and use a shoestring or whatnot. It's like, they'll fit. It doesn't matter. It'll fit. But I didn't realize like the baggy Jinko look. I hate to use the word Jinko, but it was like, I had no idea like that would happen. It was kind of like, I don't give a kind of shit thing, but we just kind of did what we did. And it was all based off of the video camera, like just film stuff, watch it, and then improve. That's what it was. But I mean, where we got stuff from, I mean, obviously we followed the Hoffmans and, we followed a lot of people, Red Hot Chili Peppers to like, stuff, but I have no clue. I have no idea like how it just went that way or, why it went that way. We just kind of did stuff. It was the strong ass personalities of every person a part of BACO. It was like this collectiveness that we all fed off each other. And we love the part of it of being the individual. You look at Jackass, each person's an individual in that. And it was Jackass before Jackass, So,
that's a great analogy because when I saw Jackass, it was so easy for me to then just adopt into that franchise and go, oh, I know this. Yeah, because I've already been watching it.
Yeah, with the budget and a little bit of help, it could have got to that. But it was early, but that's how everything evolves too. So I feel like it could have been at that level, but like anything, it's too early. You got to let stuff grow. And it's like, people don't accept stuff that's just so shockingly different. But I mean, we did what we did and no regrets. And well, a few, but
like, how at the time, I mean, how were you guys feeding yourselves? I mean, so you had BACO and you got things going on, but at the time
you're talking like out of high school, so we're away from our parents type thing. We're Yeah.
Yeah, I'm assuming that you guys were pretty much all out of the house, and
Yeah.
BMX was life, and
That,
Flatland was life.
that's an interesting one. How we paying for stuff. So my first year out of college in Green Bay, I went to Arizona, and I would wake up in the morning and Gons would be in my kitchen and he'd have my wheels on his bike. And I was like, dude, what the fuck's going on? And it was like, I think I just got on like Peregrine, and he's like, bro, I asked you if I could have these wheels. And I was like, when? He's like, well, you were sleeping, but you didn't say no. And I was like, dude, are you kidding me? And then I'd steal his shoes. So I'd wear like Adidas shell toes from his stuff, and I'd steal all his clothes. And it was like, we just went back and forth, but it was like, we all like, I worked delivering pizzas. We actually our whole house in Arizona went into a study. Like if you went in, it was like, I think it was, if you went the full thing, I'm bad at this too. It was like 20 days, you got like $2,000, and that's a lot of money back then. And it's
What year are we talking about now, Chad? What year?
Talking 90, is that 94 or 95?
You guys are living in an experiment house? Like you guys are getting money?
Like yeah, we lived in an apartment, but you would go do studies, which are like, they would test antihistamines on you or certain things. And it's like, I don't even know if that stuff's legal anymore, but you go into a place and you can't leave there, and they would do blood work on you or whatnot. And they would kind of test stuff on you.
And then slide you a 50 spot across the counter, right? And you were like, all right, well, I got $50 for it.
No, they bribed you with, hey, if you last the whole thing, you get $2,000.
Oh, $2,000. Okay.
Don't die.
Yeah.
Don't die.
Here's another vein.
Oh, you signed a bunch of stuff. Like we all committed, the whole house committed. I remember going in and I was like a naive kid. And I'm like, and I was super honest. I remember getting hurt, and I had to take something for my pain. I was like, I got worked. I think I broke a rib or something. And they're like, have you taken any painkillers in the last blah, blah? And I'm like, yeah, I took some last night. Like I have this rib. And they're like, all right, you're out. And they kicked me out. And I remember talking to a guy next to me that was on coke. And I was like, how the fuck did you stay in? And he's like, I haven't taken anything. I was like, you just told me you took coke. I'm like, they don't know that. I'm like, this study's seriously fucked up. So, but my one roommate, Troy, stayed in for it, and he did it, and he came out fine, but I was like, you just went and did stuff. But I mean, for the sake of money wise, like, I mean, at a point, Props was giving me a little bit of money, but it wasn't much at all to live off of. So I did pizza delivery. I tried to do a study, but I get kicked out for being honest. And then I go to the store, and I hate to say it because it's statute of limitations is up, but whatever. Kids would need cigarettes. I go buy them cigarettes. Like they'd be like, hey, I need a pack of cigarettes. I go buy them cigarettes, and I come out and they're like, hey, where's my change? I'm like, I show my fist. I'm like, there's no change.
I got five for you.
Right. Yeah, and you got a mustache. And so
back then I had to go to, but you just kind of did what you did to get by, it's like, I mean, you get on food stamps, you do whatever. It's like, you just be creative with stuff because, and I hate to say it, is you just want to ride. Like you want to get a little bit of money, enough food in you or soda just to ride and pay the rent. But you had a house full of people, it's really easy to pay the rent when you got, I don't know, you look through the couch and you find enough change to pay the rent. You got 12 people in the house or whatever. That's what you did. Like somebody asked me, they're like, man, you haven't worked a day in your life. I calculated I had 38 jobs in my life.
Oh, geez.
And it's like, that's a lot. So yeah, I mean, we just did stuff back then, and whatever it took. If I had to scam people with cigarette money, if I had to try and do a study but a lot of it was like pizza delivery. That was an easy one. So
because I read a quote from you that said riding a bike isn't a job, it's not a reliable source of income, and it's not a therapist. I mean, I read that and I was like doing some background on you and stuff, and I was like, bro, so true. So how do you make food appear in your hands or on the table, and it was like, that was a perfect explanation, bro. Like here's
pizza delivery is an income, it's tips. but it's food you could eat for a day off of your pizza for the day, like in reality. But I also had, my parents have always been very, very nice. You know, if I needed, like when I was a kid, they gave me a $500 loan. Like today, people would be like, that's a fucking joke. Like, no, but if they give you a $500 loan and you're paying like $18 a month for the next, do the math, I'm real bad at that, but the next
30 months,
12 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, they would help out. So I had a car, but they never questioned anything, which I think my parents should question a little bit more, but it was a huge trust thing. And when I came home, I might've been pimply and skinny and malnourished, but you know, they're like seeing me in the magazines. They're like, you know, they give a little bit of trust there, but you know, I don't know. I'm from the era of props too. That's when that stuff started. And that's when ad generation started. And that's when sponsors kind of found their new era of, hey, this is a whole new generation too. So, yeah.
You know, that's a good point. And I know this is going to jump ahead of where Isaac's going to go, but let me ask you this. I want to tag this into what we're talking about. When X Games rolled around, and speaking of paychecks and feeding yourself and making some dough and sponsorship, you know, possibilities, was X Games for you like, man, this could be the ticket into the stratosphere of opportunities for like those things like income or sponsorships? Did you see that as like that next like juggernaut step into that world?
No, I was blind to it. No, not at all. It's not like the Olympics, which you just saw. It was the next event, and everything was, you know, it was like the starting. It was such an infant stage of X Games. You know, it's like you're not getting paid well. You're wearing a billboard. Like they want us to wear long sleeves so like you get more logos on you. You know, it's like it kind of felt a little bit like they're abusing you a little bit, but it was still like the highest stage at that time. So you said yes. So I got very lucky because I was on the coattails of Nyquist and Mira too, though. So when all that stuff's happening, as Dave's getting sponsors, I'm doing shows with Dave and Ryan. So I guess I'm a little different in that sense, but it's real weird in BMX, like the pay scale. Like you look at TV and you're like, oh, those are all millionaires, but what's the next tier? And then what's the next one? And it's like, there's such a gap between everything out there that it's like, I've always said, you can't just have one, you need to have 2 to 3 options, you know, like I did photography, a lot of pictures in the magazines. I was a pro rider. I did shows, ran a skate park. Like you have to have different avenues of all the stuff. So X Games was a beautiful thing. And I still have the medal, which is not, it's a gold medal, but it doesn't mean I won. It was like the swag bag that you get, like you get invited and they give you this little medal. It says X Games is gold. And I show it to people like, oh shit, you're gold. I'm like, no, it's like, but it's, I guess X Games, you know, and I love all that. Don't get me wrong, but it was like, it was too early for when Flatland was in X Games for me to care about that, to really care about the money side of it, because I didn't think of that. What did I need? I don't even think I have a cell phone at that time, and I was living in cars and people's places. So what do you really need at that time? So now, I mean, and when you get older, you need stuff. You know?
What do you think about what's the state of Flatland now? What do you think about Flatland now? Because it's so, for me, it's so different. We're although I look older than dirt, I'm only 48. And so we grew up in the same era. Like a lot of the things you grew up with, I grew up with. And so when I look at Flatland today, I look at it and I'm like, man, I don't understand it. I can respect it. I know it's hard. I see them spinning in a circle. And then there's that spectrum where it's like just everything's on the back wheel. And then there's also then just everything's on the front wheel and just spinning and doing a spin and then another spin. And so when I look at it, it's beyond what I can even comprehend. And
that's a great
beautiful
thing.
It's beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah. If something is mind blowing, then it's exactly what those words mean. You know, it's like in Flatland, the evolution of it, like years ago, I'm thinking when my son was born 13 years ago, I was like, man, it's at a level, it's peaked. And it's like, you think of 13 years ago, the tricks then and now, but it's like also people are bringing back the old tricks and they're actually getting respect, which I think when you started scuffing nowadays, it's like a downer, but it's actually not if you do it in a right, you know, interesting way. So it's like the trick bag was so full, and it's just like the bags just started growing. It's like a chia trick bag that's
Right.
growing. It's like,
Well, yeah, we see guys like yourself. We see guys like Gabe Weed, Nick Watts. There's a ton of dudes out there who have had their, you know, time with Flatland, with scuffing and all that stuff. And it seems like you're saying to make that like, you know, total resurgence where people are like, bro, that's fucking badass. Like it's something new, or at least a revitalization of something that hasn't been seen in a while. So it's that, you know, it's that new feeling and new stokeness with, you know, Flatland. So I think it's totally cool to especially see like the younger kids, if you want to call it that, you know, being 48, that could mean a whole age range for me, but to see those things now coming back, you know, and it's really cool to see that mixed in with street park, to watch those guys include like the Flatland maneuvers and everything. So
yeah, I mean, you mentioned somebody like a Gabe Weed. He's so refreshing to see because, I mean, part of his age, but it's also who he is. But I think the love in BMX is a huge part where they don't want to see people go away. And I don't know, I'm trying to make that as strong as possible, but you don't want to see like people you looked up to or whatever do bad, go down the wrong path and go away, mainly go away. So I think there's a huge just you know, it's what do you, I don't know what you call it, but it's like you just don't want to see these people, you know, having a hard time or whatnot. It's like that. It's like there's so much support in it, especially like Flatland side. It's awesome, you know. It's like I don't know. And you mentioned that like the young kids, especially like in Japan and around, it's unheard of. Like some of these kids are so young, they don't even have the muscle mass to do half of this stuff, but their thought process and mindset, they've figured it all out. And it's like, it's kind of genius. You know, it makes me kind of bummed I didn't start riding earlier or know more, but as you get older, you're like, it's like, I don't know. It's crazy. And the growth of it, whatnot, from the contests need to come back, you know, the circle of balance, the, you know, voodoo jams to international contests and stuff like that. Plus the Olympics, like I think they got, you know, they had their hands full with BMX this year where BMX Flatland got a little bit gypped on that, but it's a stepping stone. Give it 4 years and we'll see what happens, you know? So that would be insane, you know, to have Flatland in the Olympics. So
yeah, that would, I mean, just the thought of that blows my mind. Absolutely blows my mind.
hell yeah.
Now, did you have like and this is just questions I've always wanted to ask you. Did you have a favorite bike?
I have a couple favorite bikes.
And you can go into as much detail as you want on all of them. And we love that shit, dude. So absolutely.
An 86 Performer was like the best geometry, welded numerous times. I do love when I had a sample Schwinn, although it was heavy, it was just something like it had magic powers. That like a green Schwinn, which I still have. That's crazy. My trans red standard shorty, that was like a magic trick. I don't think I needed to do much except just let the bike made me do it. You know, if I had to blame the bike for all that stuff. Baby blue standard shorty, that was a huge one. I got to give it to like Hoffman. I rode a Big Daddy for the X Games one year for a couple months, and it was awesome. That was beautiful. But my two loves right now are my two current bikes. Like I have an Army Green Deco Jackpot which it has a long story. It was, went to Bikes Over Baghdad, got lost in Istanbul, Turkey, ended up in Africa. I found it the US government found it probably, I think it was 4 months later. I got it back. So
What?
I'm actually on that bike still. And that's been since 2015. So 6 years ago. So that thing's like my go-to bike when I ride the pump track and whatnot. It's like, it's pretty crazy that bike has that kind of history. And it's like, it means a lot to me, you know. But my Flatland bikes, I try and change every year, but it's been about 2 years now for that. But I think that green Deco jackpot I have that's kind of like the one that's like the good luck charm.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's my
crazy,
one.
man.
So
I mean, I want to touch back. What is the story behind the lost bike and the U.S. government finding it? Like, was there like an APB, internationally, Interpol, everybody looking for? I mean, what's behind that, Chad?
yeah, so we entertain the troops. I've been on 3 tours. It's called Bikes Over Baghdad. You can look it up. I've done some YouTube videos and whatnot, but so we go over mainly Middle East. I've been to North Iraq, been to Africa, different parts of Africa, Central and Djibouti area. We've been around Bahrain, Qatar, like all around. And it's like, you go there and you entertain the troops. So this one trip, we land in Istanbul and I have no idea. Our stuff just didn't show up. And we take another flight and you don't know how you're flying or what you're doing. Like I remember one of those flights, it was a 2-hour flight and it took, I think 7 hours because we had to fly around a war zone. So you don't want to fly through airspace, you know, where, you know, there's hot stuff going on. So it's like, all we know is that happens and we get to Djibouti, Africa, and we're like, all right, where's our stuff? And they're like, they don't know. And it was that next week, there was like a crazy gunfight, and I think an explosion in the Istanbul airport. And I was like, I believe our stuff was still there. And I was like, okay, so we get to Djibouti, Africa, and most of us, like the crew, we have to build ramps, you know, in 120-degree weather. We have to perform, we have to do shows, and we have a couple bikes. So I rode flat on Rob Darton's bike. He just got a back brake. I did a bunch of sliders, some little stuff. I got through it, but it wasn't the same. Get back to the US and they're like, yeah, we found the bikes, we found your equipment, we'll send it. And it was seriously like 3 months later. So logistically, it was just a nightmare. And it was like, I was sitting here for a couple months without a bike. I ended up building up a bike and I'm like, I got a ride. And it was like the month later it shows up. I'm like, the story of this bike, like if this bike could talk or whatnot, if it saw gunfire, if it saw this, it saw that or whatnot, it's like, it's pretty crazy. But yeah, it's an army green bike and it's like, you know, it's my go-to bike. So yeah, but Bikes Over Baghdad is a good thing, good for the troops, and where your bike can bring you and bring smiles is absolutely a crazy thing.
And when you were over there, man, you guys didn't know, or it sounds like you didn't know where you were going from one place to another. Did you know that, or was it kind of just like, hey, get on this plane and we're gonna, you know, we got a 2-hour flight?
You can't really know, because you might be flying over Baghdad at 4 a.m, you know, with Blackhawks tracing, like following you. You might be in a Black Hawk flying with your bike. You might be doing this. You might, like, they tell you enough information, but knowing that when you get to base and you have Wi-Fi, you can't really reveal much. You know, it's like, you're not like debriefed, but you're not really in the know. You just show up and you're like, what do I do now? And then you create a show, you know, like you might have like a big front end shovel that turns into a quarter pipe and like some scaffolding for a show. Or I might be on a runway, the runway of a French side of the base, and you're just doing a demo. You have like 5 minutes to do a demo. Like you don't know anything. The craziest one is we got stuck in North Iraq. Like we were up there and nobody's really been up there, and we got stuck. It wasn't that our plane caught on fire, even though one did. But we got stuck there and we just did another show, and we're there to do shows and hang out and not to party. We're there to hang out with the crew. And it's like, you know, all of a sudden there's an open window to get on a plane to get out. And we do that. So
Who's with you?
I mean, it's Nate Wessel, it's Darton, it's Morgan Wade, it's, you know, there's a crew of like 12 people. It's Catfish, you know, Kaczynski, you know, Kimmler. It's a lot of people, but like when it's time to go, you throw your bikes onto a pallet and they palletize it and then load it into, you know, the back of a plane. You know, it's like when we flew over Baghdad, the back of the plane is down and there's a gunner back there with his hand on the trigger. And we're all back there like snapping pictures. I remember taking a picture, but my flash went off. If your flash goes off, it signals like, hey, we're here. And it was like, I should have been kicked off the trip for like just showing a flash flying over Baghdad. You know, it's like, it's crazy, but you don't know. Like
did they flip out? Did they flip out on you when the flash went off?
It wasn't a complete flip out, but it was like, you just don't do that. Like you don't identify that you're flying over, that you don't do that. You know, and it's not just that. Like we were on a trip, and I think it was they said it was a 2-hour flight, and it turned out to be 4, but there's no bathrooms. So I'm like holding a plastic bag, thinking of peeing in it, and it's like everybody's like this, and there's no heat on the plane. There's no air conditioning. So either you're hot or cold, you have to pee or after this, and then you're next to rifles everywhere. It was like, you know, like another one we're like, you can't even fit in a seat. There's not even seats, there's just straps. And the whole back of the cargo is all military, male and female. And I look and there's a little flap. And I was like, hey man, what's that? And they're like, oh, if you really have to pee, you go in there. I was like, what's that? And there's a shower curtain and a bucket. And I'm like, you really have to shit, you go in there. And I was like, I gotta pee. And they're like, you have to climb over everybody. So there's machine guns and rifles, and I'm climbing over every person. I lift up a flap and there's girls and guys all around me. And you set your hog in there, not in there, you don't touch it, and you take a piss. Or if you have the squirts, you go behind the shower curtain and you shit in a bucket. It was like, there's some like wild stuff going on up there, but it was like, yeah, I got story after story after story about that. So yeah.
Glad you got your bike back.
What's that?
I said, glad you got your bike back.
Yeah, I'm glad.
Yeah.
I still ride it. I still riding the thing. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So, okay, here's something that I get asked all the time. Being someone that's a bit older, personally, and being a former Flatland guy,
yep.
What should I buy? What if I go to your website and I want to get a Flatland bike?
Yeah.
Would you recommend your bike, or would you recommend something different?
Right now I'm out of stock on everything. So that kind of sucks. I wish about 2 years ago I had everything in, but with this all happening, Taiwan's a whole different world over there. But if you want to go to the site, I can recommend stuff. I can suggest stuff, and I would help you with different brands too. So yeah, if you want to go to decobmx.com or my shop, mrbikesandboards.com, like I would love to. There's great places, Flatland Fuel. They got complete bikes and stuff. If you want to get back into it, I suggest buying a complete bike.
Check that out.
Yeah, there you go.
That?
You got it right there. Yeah.
So
shout out.
When I was learning to tattoo, I tattooed myself the Flatland, that's the Flatland Fuel logo. Yeah, you can't tell with my pour, there's pegs. No, I wasn't a very good tattooer, by the way. But I did that, and I think I sent it to Pat years ago. I sent it to him recently. He's like, cool. He's like, I'm like, yeah, dude, I'm okay. I get it. We don't know each other. I understand. It was awkward.
Yeah, it sounds like it.
It was, but he did help me get, he helped me get I'm gonna slaughter this dude. Was it maybe called a Quaman?
Yeah, Quaman was a good brand. I don't know how much they're around anymore. Like Aries makes good complete bikes. Like Iggy does a bunch of stuff. Colony is another contender too. Haro is always kind of in the game. I'm trying to think Flatland specific. There's not a lot. I know DK, I think, still tries to do some stuff here and there, but getting back into it's really tough because it's a little frustrating because if you build a complete bike, you could spend $1,200-1,500. If you buy a complete Flatland bike, you can spend $400 to $600 and then deck it out with some deco pegs, get some woo pegs on there. And then throw like a profile Z coaster on it, and then just start customizing it. So I mean, with my shop, I sell a lot of complete bikes and then let people customize it. That's definitely the way to do it, I feel. So, but there's stuff out there, but there's not a lot.
Here's my other question, real quick, Craig, and then you can ask your BMX questions too, because like Craig's got a ton. So obviously, we're really into big BMX bikes. The PK Ripper 27.5 is my favorite bike.
Yep.
I love that bike. I do flatline. I'll go out and do tail whips on it. I'll go do lawnmowers on it. That's that's where I was like, I'm comfortable doing that. It's this.
You see Montana Ricky doing some stuff on that?
Dude, Montana Ricky and Gabe Weed. Yeah, Gabe Weed's doing it too, dude. And there's a guy named Scott Powell. And on
I know
Instagram.
Scott Powell really well. I got stories about him in Hawaii for sure.
That guy, dude. That guy does flatland on a 26-inch like titanium bike. Dude, it's amazing. He has
like 20 bikes. He has pedaling front back wheel, pedaling pedals. He has Scott. I think he just bought a condo down here. So he was down here not long ago, but yeah, Scott's doing amazing. Yeah, he's into all that stuff. So that's awesome.
Here's a question I want to have. So in you got to think back to like our era, the first wave of our era, and like the top of the line stuff you could get Peregrine HP 48s, and I remember flight cranks were the shit, and so were Peregrine 48s. Nowadays, like I think I have some Revenge 48s that I got from Gabe Weed, like because I felt like I had to have 48s, but you don't need 48s really. Is that like a thing of the past? 48 Spokole or 48s for Flatland? Is that
48s for Flatland, and 48s are kind of like a collector thing. That's it.
Yeah.
Like I know Bone Death tried to, do some stuff with that, just because of their street ride and jumping off roofs and everything like that. 48s, you don't need that. Like 36, I think I built a 48 wheel. Like I do probably 5 to 10 wheels a week, around Christmas, probably about 14 to 20 a week. And I've done, I think 148 in the last probably 8 years. Like it's just, you don't need it.
Yeah.
The technology is really good with the 36s. You don't need any of that. But a lot of people think that, okay, so I just built up a wheel for Mark Eaton, and he was like, he's on a new Haro and he didn't know any of the specs, which is hilarious, but he's like, I need it all chrome, bro. I need it bling, bling, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, are you running 48s? I had to ask. And he's like, I don't know. And I was like, look. Yeah, it's like, it's right there, but they're 36. And I'm like, and then building up a profile Z coaster to a Sun Rim for him was real easy. I'm like, you're not going to go nuts on this. Yeah, like what kind of are you like doing flips? What are you doing? He's like, bro, I'm not even going to do like a 180 or anything like that. I just want to ride around and blah, blah. And I'm like, you're fine with a 36. A 36 is completely good. Like people are killing themselves. Look at the Olympic guys. If there's none riding 48s, look at the stuff they do. Riding flat, obviously there's lateral difference on it and stuff, but just run a 36. Yep. If you can find 48s, save them and sell them on eBay to somebody that wants to pay that.
Yeah, it's your grandpa. So it's a Grandpa Isaac. There you go.
Yeah.
Okay. Hey,
no disrespect. I don't mean to make fun of you if you love 48.
No, not at all, dude. But that's the thing. Like for me to come back and okay, so when I left, the last bike that I built was, I think maybe that Quaman, you know what I mean? It was like a G4, G5, I don't know, something like that. I built it. It had, I believe it had an American bottom bracket, just a press in bottom bracket.
Yeah.
And that was it, dude. And so nowadays, like I bought do you know Poor Boy? You know Poor Boy Steve?
Yeah. I rode for, yeah. I
Okay.
rode Poor Boy for, I don't know how many years. I was in 500 miles, the video of that. And yeah.
Dude.
Sure.
Okay. So Steve knows my love for Ozone. That was like my last bike I had. And I have a love affair
Ozone was
with
great.
Ozone.
Yeah.
I loved Ozone. And I have a funny story where I thought I was going to be killed by the Ozone people picking up my bike. Cause I lived in NorCal and I went and picked the bike up from the factory.
Was that in your Grasso story too?
It was. Yeah.
I'm at that point right now in the podcast, so don't spoil it.
I won't. Believe me, nobody else wants to hear it.
If you're new to this podcast, go watch Grasso's. Yeah, I love it. It's great. So yeah,
Dude,
but I'm right there right now, so don't ruin it.
Perfect.
Okay.
So like that, like bikes back then, very different than what I'm getting now. Like I talked to Steve, and Steve's like, dude, I can probably find you like a Colony repop of the Ozone. So I got it, and I luckily I put everything that Gabe Weed sold me on an intricate frame that I was like, this just feels so small, I can't ride it. So the Ozone feels a lot bigger for some reason. It just feels bigger, longer, and I bought some of the Peregrine Q bar repops, and so like it feels comfortable. I could do tail whips and whiplashes and fire hydrants and stuff like that. So I'm happy with it. But I also understand that you understand, because I saw a YouTube video of you talking about profile Z coasters.
Yeah.
RL put one, or he tried one out on his Haro 26-inch Master, his Haro Master with the double Slim McCoy 26-inch from Haro, and RL Osborne put the profile Z coaster on that.
Cool.
And so
I didn't know that. That's awesome. Yeah.
Dude. Yeah. He was talking about, like, he got into the swapping it out so you can adjust how much gap, how much slack.
Yep.
And so, dude, fascinating. So, and I know Craig's dying to ask a bunch of these questions too, because, like with big bikes, you have all these BMX kids that came back and are like, man, my knee hurts, my back hurts, but I can ride like this big ripper. It's a 29er. But if you go to one of these ride outs, you'll see 3,000 to 7,000 people show up to go and ride 20 miles with a bunch of people that are just like them. Not unheard of to see $600 chrome bullseye pedals easily on these bikes, because it's all these kids that grew up, and now we just have big kid paper routes that we can go and throw $600 pedals on a bike if we wanted to. Difference is we don't necessarily know what is out there now, and you being someone that knows bike parts, what would you recommend from profile as far as like the hubs and all the way down?
I mean, the profile Z coaster is my, I guess, labor of love, because I was there from, them trying to patent it from the start, to actually testing it, to blowing it apart, to it being my favorite hub ever. To part of it was when I was testing it, they took it away, and there's a huge discrepancy. I hope you don't mind me getting into all this stuff.
No, please do.
Please do.
Like when you come up with a new concept for a bike part, you need to do your research if it's patented or not. And if you go to patent it and it's already patented, what do? You either scrap the idea or come up with a new one. So that's the evolution of the Z coaster. The first phase of the profile hub, I'm gonna call it that, was already patented, and the person that did it didn't know that, or did know that. And let's just say that person's not involved in there anymore. But the crew at Profile was like, and me included, I was like, man, this hub is genius. It has to happen, blah, blah. And they're going to scrap the idea. And I was like, I'm like, this has to be, this is like the iPod into the iPhone. It is like, there's certain stuff in the sport, the pivotal seat post. There's certain things that I think changed the industry. And I felt like this was one of them. And so the minds started working at Profile, and they came up with a new piece that was unique and they could patent. It was like genius, it's like, and it works. Everything is awesome about it. The internals are so easy, but they went from like, when I started riding like free coasters, it's essentially a foot brake, and then you take out the metal brake pads and you put a washer in there. So it won't, like, it'll spin backwards and not expand and go into the hub. And it's like, I worked with my uncle on that stuff, plus on pegs, which I can get into later, along the same time of indie industries like Bill Nitschke's pegs too, washer based, like put the lug on there. But so Profile got that going and did it. And I was like, I was so excited to be a part of it, to obviously wreck one, to get it going, but to also have a part in it. It's like, I did some of the instructional videos and tutorials on it and everything like that, but it's like, that's my go-to hub, because part of it is my whole life has been quiet. Like when you pedal, there's no clicking. Now I have a click, but you back pedal a little bit and it turns it off, and it's a free coaster. So audibly, that like when it's working was cool, but you can also use it as like a full functioning cassette. So it was like trying to take some high-end Profile elite status hub and make it into something that's good for this. And I hate to say it, and I'm not spilling the beans by any means, but like, if you can get into this aspect of it, like to have pawls go dormant and then you have a free coaster, that is it. That's a simple concept. It's clicking, which means it's engaged. You back it off, it's not engaged, and you can go backwards. If you can get that into Olympic racing, think of the hundredths of a second that you can save. So if you can train a racer to pedal as hard as they can to go, and then to back pedal in the straights when they're pumping, they can save that pawl drag on there. But what if that, I don't know.
No, it's making sense. What if that pawl drag, ended up being those hundredths of a second in resistance? That they can save from backpedaling, and like that could be the difference between podium and not podium.
And a bigger picture is like, let's say Tour de France or something like that. You could teach those guys how to do that when they're climbs, you're going up, but coasting and everything like that, you're disengaging. It's like you dissect that into milliseconds. It's crazy. Like Morgan Wade, he does big air, the big ramp. I think he has 4 pawls in there, and he takes out 2 or 3, but he also has $600 pressed in bearings too. So he can do 25-foot airs. A lot of people think about that stuff and dissect it, but I think the industry needs to go into that aspect, like a higher end, better Swiss ceramics, or just better construction, or better this, because everything is kind of based off of, and I can bash them, and I will, is like somebody like an Eastern Bikes kind of wrecked the industry for a little while. I feel like they made stuff so affordable. Like when you buy grips for like $5, that's what a dealer buys them for. Like, and they're selling those to the customer. Like, I think you need to have options like that in higher end stuff, but there's a lot of people that still won't accept that. It's such a huge gap of, it's not affordable, it's too expensive, so they get bashed on. But the Profile Z coaster is based off the Elite hub. It's $360 hub. Why would they make the Z coaster a cheaper hub when it's based off that? So it's essentially a $360 rear hub. That's phenomenal. Go buy 5 other hubs that you might blow out when you can just have one Z coaster. So
yeah, and Isaac and I were talking about this the other night on our streaming podcast, Chad, and it was like, we want to start at least getting people into the big bike scene aware. One, make them aware of technology and accessories and parts like the free coaster, like the Profile Z coaster. Like, we know that these kids and these riders in this big bike world are starting to incorporate Flatland and freestyle into this wheelie culture, right? Where it's more
the
or
peg
less
wheelie.
everything's
Yeah.
on. So it's like now we see him doing these rock walks. We see him doing other tricks where you come out of the trick and it's a rolling backwards trick and they're just pedaling back, pedaling back.
Yep.
Like, you guys, there's technology out there currently in somebody's, online store or in a glass case inside of a bike shop that you can buy and put on this bike that is going to give you that enhancement, give you that advantage for the style of riding. And I think that's where this is going, even in the big bike world. So Tour de France, yes. BMX racing, yes. Olympic freestyle, yes. But, we were like, we want to see what we see is, this happening. And we want to start tagging brands like Profile, like, whoever, to say, hey, look, we're buying your guys' stuff because we're putting it on these big bikes. We want the aftermarket parts. We want the technology. We want all the engineering and all those things. Like, do you guys see like more and more of, like, say, Profile giving an eye to the bigger bike world? Do you guys see like our slice of the pie on this whole graph that says, hey, we're validated, we can be a part of this scene too?
Make me pegs, Chad. That's what I want.
I'm taking the long ass way to get around it. Like, is that something that you guys consider, or is it just basically like, we'll make this for anyone who can use it?
They make, like, I don't own Profile, but it's like they make parts for the user.
Yeah.
And when it's somebody like me expressing interest in something like that, like, okay, so let's say I call them wheelie kids. Like, you do the peg wheelies, you do the kneelie, which I've done a lot of kneelie tricks, knee on the seat. Picture one of those kids on a big bike with a Z coaster doing kneelies backwards. He's doing his whole cross foot. He's kneeling on the seat. He's doing all stiff. He's hauling ass backwards. You think of how mind blown people would be. So
totally. I think that they don't even know that that's out there. Like, the wheelie culture folks, I'm not going to say don't have the knowledge of stuff from like, the 90s or earlier or whatever, 2000s. I just don't think they know it exists yet, and that it's out there.
Yeah. And I mean, I see these kids, like, they're in traffic, even here in Orlando, swerving around cars and everything. And I fix a lot of the bikes and everything. I guess I don't know if they would apply it, or they want, like, who are the people that they look at that know to go on knee on the seat to the left peg to the right peg to this? Who are those people? It's not Todd Lyons. Like, who are the people, that can change this? That's what it is.
It's we need new. It's the next generation of BACO. Chad, is your answer, right?
Yeah, it could be big bikes. Yeah.
BACO, like, Instagram is BACO. You know what I mean? Like, and I put a lot of reference on that, dude, because like that's what kept me going. I couldn't ride like you guys, man. I could watch and appreciate the music and the, like I was telling you the other day, like there's a shot of, it's a hitchhiker, and it's like the handy cam is duct taped to your top tube, or maybe the chainstay. I don't remember.
I taped it to my peg. I taped it to the top tube, and I think I taped it to my seat. Like, that's straight up duct tape and a towel,
dude.
Like, yeah,
Craig,
I think you mentioned that. You're like, that's like the first round GoPro.
It
was, dude.
And what's crazy about that is when you actually tape a camera to your bike, you have to be smooth. You don't want that jitter and the hop and the
right
and stuff. So yeah, that's just kind of what we did, though.
Yeah, there was no hyper smooth. There's no hyper smooth on a Sony Handycam on like high
you were the hyper smooth, bro.
Yeah. But before, okay, I'm gonna move on. But one thing that I hope you guys all cued in on, I cued in on it. But as you ride big bikes, getting a simple upgrade of a profile free coaster.
Yep.
For a long ride, you guys. What y'all like? Everyone likes that loud freewheel. Everyone wants that loud freewheel.
It's got it. Yep.
The sound from a freewheel is actually springs hitting, which is slowing your wheel down. Okay, that's science. So what Chad is talking about with a free coaster is if you pedal backwards a little bit, those pawls will come in. You won't hear that sound, but now as you're riding, you're not having any friction hold you back while you're riding. So you will be able to ride longer and your legs will last longer. So if you are of an age that you want to ride longer with a smoother ride and less resistance, the free coaster isn't just for kids jumping off houses. It's for you. And you just don't know that technology applies to the way that you ride your bike. So I hope you followed along with that and would see the value in that simple upgrade of a Z coaster, even if you don't do a free, even if you're never going to go ride your bike backwards. You're like, I'm 60, Isaac. You need this more than I do, because this will let you pedal with the precision of profile without any.
It's actually pretty cool though. Like I've ridden since 86 and I haven't had clicking on my bike, and it's kind of a fun thing to turn it on and off. Like it's not for me. Like I just posted a video recently of a scooter kid hitting me, but it's like, you're there, but it's like, I don't know. You got to try riding, the Z code, because you can just turn it off.
Dude, I'll be honest. Yeah. I never believed in free coasters ever, because, the Gen 1 free coaster is what I remember everyone had. And you pedaled backwards and it sounded like a garbage disposal with a spoon in it. Yeah. And I was like, I don't want my bike to sound like that. I want my bike to sound like I love it, because you know what I mean? Like you love your bike, and I didn't like that. And so I was like, oh, this is stupid technology. You know what I mean? This is about as good as a rotor. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like rotor, not gyro. Yeah. And so, when you look at that, and then I see a name like Profile, and I'm like, shit, they're putting their name, like, it makes me even swear. That was my reaction. You know what I mean? I'm like, Profile's putting their name on a free coaster. That's a big deal.
It is. It is.
I mean? It's a big deal.
Yeah. I mean, like in their name is Profile Racing, it's like, that's, it was a bold statement. And I think it was a lot of trust on my side on, coming up with this patented idea and, basing it off of something that exists already, like off their Elite Hub. But if you take apart the Profile Z coaster, it's like, it's such a simplistic thing. It's beautiful. Like everybody thinks you need to get super technical and go hard and go crazy. And it's like, no, you take it apart and you're like, oh, that's it. Like, and that makes like the mind be like at peace. It's like, whoa, that's cool.
Dude,
it's like I was so happy and satisfied with like how to explain how it works and whatnot. And it's like, that's it.
Yeah.
It's not like you have this roller and this escalator and this rolls up on here and it goes back there and this has to be this and this could break. It's not like that. This is what it is.
Yeah.
So I strongly suggest people to try them, get into them. And if you don't like the free coaster side of it, they include a little piece that turns it into a full functioning cassette. But it is a cassette unless you backpedal and turn it into a free coaster, which I think the sport needed. So there's a lot of people like yourself that, like the clicking, like the constant engagement. And it is like that.
Yep. I'm gonna have to check one out, dude. And here's the thing. I was in the purchase path, and that's how I saw your video of you describing it. And the funny thing, dude, Craig was cracking up too. So while you're describing how simple it is, right? And you're just like, there's only a couple, it's very simple design. R.L. Osborne, freestyle guy, bought the free coaster, and he took it apart. He's like, I'm gonna take it apart and we'll just see what's inside. Because that's the kind of guy he is. He's just inquisitive. And I'm like, I'm just sitting back and I'm like, babe, pop some popcorn, because I'm thinking RL is going to take apart this free coaster and it's just going to go, and it's a puzzle piece. He has to put back together.
Come out of it.
Right. And then I'm like, Chad, it's like exactly what you said. He's like, oh, there's settings. It's this, and this.
That's
and
it.
He pulls out the one, and he bought the one that had the 3. So you had 3 options.
Yeah, it's a slack
for
ring.
gap. Slack ring. Yeah. And so he drops he's like, and he's explaining to you, and I'm like, Look at RL, man. All just explaining this profile. It was beautiful. Okay.
Yeah.
Chad, thanks for coming to the Chad DeGroot interview and talking all about profile. That was fantastic, but we all wanted to know. So thanks for coming to your own interview and the profile version of that. But dude, thank you, for developing that because that is a piece of technology.
It wasn't all me, but I'd like to have a say that I had a big part in it. So there's a lot of behind the scenes. There's a lot of hiccups. There's a lot of stuff, but I'm super satisfied that, the people at Profile, like, really trusted to not scrap the idea. Like there's a lot of patented stuff out there. It could be a patented piece, and that can make it could just kill the whole thing. And I'm stoked that I fell in love with it, and I stood strong with everything. So yeah, I appreciate you saying that, and it being there and something I trust every day too. So
here's the thing, dude. I trust you from back then because I don't believe the Chad that I grew up watching and get interviewed and all of that would put something out, put your name on something just to make some money. Like that has never been something that has been part of your brand. You know what I mean? Like you'll hustle, you're telling the stories like I'll hustle, but I'm not, you know what I mean? I'm not going to rip you off. I'm not like going to put my name on this profile thing and be like, you guys should all buy this.
Yep.
Like, so please tell Profile, thank you. For on behalf of people like myself that have ridden bikes since I was 12, for continuing to make it easy for me to ride a BMX bike at my age comfortably,
and to keep it interesting and to keep
make it fun
and better.
Exactly. Because I geeked out when I was a kid. I remember I had Redline flight cranks, and I remember I was so proud of them. I would take them, like, literally, dude, I just took the pinch bolts off, took the crank off, wiped it and put it back on. Felt like I was doing like the best maintenance in the world, but I was so proud of it. And so that's the feeling I get when I see like high-end profile stuff. You know what I mean? It's interesting to me. So Etnies BMX Craig. This is a story.
Hey guys, how you doing?
This is a story. Yeah, welcome back to the interview, Craig. Okay. Right. So this story I heard on Scotty's YouTube, because he's showing the mayor of, what city is it, Chad?
It's Longwood, Florida.
Longwood, Florida. So the mayor of Longwood, Florida, pro wrestler, ginormous man.
He's 7'2". He's an ex WWE wrestler. His name's Matt Morgan, the Blueprint. He was the mayor for, I believe, a year or two, and now he was commissioner and back to commissioner. But Mayor Morgan.
7'2". To put that in perspective, the guy that played Michael Myers in Rob Zombie's Halloween was 6'9". So this guy's taller than Michael Myers from Halloween. That's just perspective.
His head is like, it's like a superhero head.
Yeah.
Like his head, I always look at his head and like his head's so big.
Right. I just look at him like, you probably eat a lot of chicken, huh? You eat a lot of eggs. You know what I mean? Like when you look at someone and you go, that dude's yoked. Dude, this guy's yoked. And so
we call that an eclipse head. Because if they walk in front of the sun, bro.
Yeah, we're all in the shade. We're all good. We're all gonna have a nice little picnic. So I'm watching the show. I'm watching this channel, right? And like Scotty's talking about how it's a grand opening of this pump track. And then I hear how Chad was involved. And I'm like, wait, of course Chad was involved. How would that not happen, right? So dude, the funniest part is watching him on the pump track on a 20-inch bike. So it makes me feel really bad about complaining about like, oh man, my knees hurt, because Andre the Giant with a heart of gold, this guy is like the nicest person in the world, even though he's just a giant human dude. You see the water slide smile, you know what I mean? Like you see him get on a bike and he's just like, yep, 12. I'm not 7'2". I'm 12-year-old, not the Blueprint anymore. I'm just a dude on a bike trying to jump. And it's pure. Chad, my question to you, how you were involved in that. Can you explain the process of how you got involved or what you know about it? Because I want anybody that hears, I want at least one person that hears this podcast in the history of the world of YouTube to go and make a pump track in their hometown.
Of course. So I'm pretty tight with the city, with Chris, the mayor, the city commissioners and everything like that. So when you start having meetings, we have an existing skate park. How do you go there? You ask questions. That's the best thing. Ask a lot of questions, follow-up questions, blah, blah. How do we make this better? They're like, well, we can do this. And then I have my suggestions, but where does the funding come from? And that was a huge key to this. So the city sat me down and they're like, well, there's a way of writing grants, but there's actually grant writers. So it's almost like an art. So you need to know which grants are available in which state. I'm going to just focus on Florida for the sake of this.
Yeah.
So what you do is you say, hey, I'm going to apply for this grant, this grant, this grant, this grant, and whatnot. So we went for one and 35 are awarded. It's a kids grant. And when you write it, you have to take into corporation. It's not necessarily for a skate park. It's not for a pump track. It's not for a jungle gym. It's not for signage, tennis, painting, strips. It's for everything. So when we applied, the deal is the jungle gym is kind of crappy. So we're like, we want to put some money into this. So like tennis courts, the tennis nets, blah, blah. So it's like a blanket on the park. If you focus on skate park, skate, a rail, blah, blah, you're not going to go anywhere. You have to spread the love to a whole bunch of, so what it comes down to is points. So when we wrote the part for the jungle gym, we got a couple points. When we wrote it for this, we got a couple points, but we got very lucky that the train rides right next to the park. It's a sunrail. It's a public transportation system. And that's where the next bike path is going. So they can incorporate that by saying it's actually a bike stop. So, and then what's associated with biking? The Olympics. So if you incorporate bike path, bike stop, a park, then you get awarded all these points. So we beat out like Miami, Tallahassee, Jacksonville, who else? Tampa, blah, blah. We beat out all those, and Orlando. And we got awarded $200,000 to go to the park. So the deal was, which is pretty crazy, is that $200,000 goes to the park or the skate park, but it has to be split up. So in true fashion, it had to be split up into the jungle gym, which 100,000 went there, and $100,000 got incorporated into the pump track. Because
it's a hell of a jungle gym, bro. It's a hell of a jungle gym.
But it sounds like on the grand scheme of things, though, like,
Yeah.
I mean, you get that, and that's dope that you got it awarded. But $100,000, one piece of that, or 200 grand, 100 grand funneling to the park, and then 100 to the pump track.
Yep.
100 grand, although it's a grant, helps, but it's not. I mean, that's only a slice of the bigger picture, right? I mean, it definitely helps.
Exactly. So if the allotted 200 grand went to the skate park, you would have got a pump track and a full revised everything. Instead, it got split, and it got more of a focus of BMX and pump track and blah, blah. But there's actually, hey, I know you're trying to get at, what you need to do is go talk to your city officials, the advisory board, go to meetings, and don't annoy them. Don't go in 500 people. Don't have 40 people stand up. Go there and just be consistent, but ask questions on how we can do this. And then state the city of Longwood did this, city of Tallahassee did this, or blah, blah. Like, go in there with some facts, but never go in doubting, or downplaying anything. So
how did you, when you were starting this off, Chad, like, how did you vet to them your credentials? Like, was it, hey, I'm Joe Citizen, or what did you go in with as far as credentials, saying, hey, look, I'm someone who's got a really huge stake in this by heart and proxy of being a BMX pro rider, but what made them perk their ears to you or your group?
Because I proved myself and followed through. And the city told me that they like working with me because I'll come up with an idea, I'll execute it, follow through, and finish it. And anyone can have an idea, but if you don't take it to the end till it's finished, what's the point? Like, yeah, we all have ideas. Like right now we're coming up with ideas, but who's going to come through with everything and make it happen? So what I did was my first GoFundMe. I raised, I think it was $2,500, and I had my friend Nate Wessel and the Nitro Circus crew make metal ramps in Pennsylvania. And I drove up there, brought them down and assembled them. So the city saw it as a gift. They saw it as reputable, credentials through Woodward Camp, credentials through Nitro Circus, blah, blah, blah. And then that kind of put me on the map of like, hey, I'm going to raise some money. I'm going to build this stuff, prove myself, and then I'm going to assemble it. And this is yours. So, and they saw that as a start to finish kind of thing. And I think that was the one step. So, and then it led into, hey, how do we do something on a bigger scale? And the only way to do it is with these open grants. And there's a lot of kids grants out there. With the Olympics now, people need to, every city needs to tap into this. Go there and talk about the Olympics, Olympic training grounds, BMX, skateboarding. It's all on the map. Now it's a matter of the age group of the city official and the advisory board. That's it. Like they have to look at stuff and improve city parks. Every park should have a little skate park. Every skate park should be phenomenal. They should have the phase 2 and phase 3 of all skate parks. So that's a huge portion of it. But like to answer your question, I followed through with what I said. I proved myself and they trusted me. And that's where we're at right now.
That's so rad, man, because, for a layman like me, and I'm sure there's a lot thinking like, first of all, applause to you and, props to you, dude, for doing that, for being the follow through guy, for showing them like, hey, this is more than just a good idea, a good feel moment for the community and kids and stuff, which it totally is. But it's like, I would think, and you just mentioned it, like you have to get through to those, not so knowledgeable people on the city council and those who aren't aware by, like bringing up Olympics and all these hot things that can really like catapult this and get into their heads and be like, yeah, this is a good thing. Like, did you find that there were like roadblocks with those folks as far as like, yes, the idea is good. Yes, the Olympics are hot. Yes, this is all these points are making points. And then they get into the like, what about the insurance? What about the city's policy on waiving, monies for like if people get hurt? Or did you have roadblocks like that? And if so, like
No.
So they were
insurance stuff is a joke. You can't tell me. I don't think there's any city in the US that has an insurance problem. You're at your own risk. When you step on a bike, on a skateboard, inline, any kind of wheel sport, if you try something, you're at your own risk. And I think that's like considered like a city street. You go out in front of your street. If you get hurt, are you going to sue the city? No, it's like, it's just such an open thing with skate parks and all this stuff. And it's evolving into pump tracks. And no, like, I don't think there's absolutely no hurdles like that at all. No questions, no nothing. The only thing is a reputable builder. We're not trying to get, I brought his name up before, like Trey Jones and Swamp Fest. Like you're not trying to get a Swamp Fest course built for this, but it's like you need a reputable builder. There is one hurdle. To get approved by the city takes 6-9 months or whatnot. And that's the same with construction of like the playground and the jungle gym. They have a certain construction company that disassembles, assembles, and does stuff. The sunshade to the mulch to everything. They have that, but you have to be approved by the city. I think that's the biggest hurdle. So when this pump track was made, there is, I don't know, a dozen people that make pump tracks, good, bad, ugly, but the one that was approved was Velo. And I think they're an amazing brand. They do a great pump track out of asphalt. I think the cement ones are okay. The asphalt has a little bit more give, but they got a cool red line and they are pretty damn phenomenal at what they do, and it's like, it's an evolving thing for pump tracks to see one here and then to make a new one, to change the design and make it better. Think in 5 years, how many like city, like, or racetracks will have a separate pump track, as a feature. And it's like, I don't know. I think every skate park should have a pump track. A lot of Florida parks are starting to incorporate pump tracks into their stuff, and they are fucking awesome on every bike, everything, small, big wheels, everything, skateboards. Like, you see smiles up and down. It's crazy, and it gets it more family orientated. So I think like us doing the Longwood pump track made it a safer place, because there's more eyes and more families and more kids going. More kids means more families, like fathers and mothers and everything like that. But it's like, yeah, I'm stoked. Like, go there, like, make it happen. So
Does it make it easier? Does it make it easier to like leverage pitching the pump track if there's an existing skate park already? Like, have you had that
I
experience?
think so. Yeah. I mean, there's in Orlando, they have a mountain bike park, and it's all out of dirt, but you obviously know Florida is sand, so I wouldn't call it dirt. So it's not good, and they need an asphalt pump track. So it's segue. If you have one thing, go to this, and that's why I mentioned phases. Most skate parks never go to phase 2, and what is that? That's either people in the council or who built it or whatnot. The Longwood Candyland Park has gone through different phases, and they should be going through another couple phases coming up. So if you have an existing, yes, but it doesn't mean it can't happen. So I don't want to bum people out. I think, why couldn't it happen? Like, look at the TV, Olympics are on. Like, it's amazing. Get this going. Like, it's an alternative, it's a non-team sport, which is for everybody, I think. So
I love that. All right, dude, I'm gonna end on one question, because I think to me there's a correlation. But I'm curious what your thought is on this.
Yeah.
So something you said that cues me in, was you said, it's because I could see things from start to finish.
Yep.
Now, my question for you is, do you think that's a byproduct of freestyle, or do you think you were drawn to freestyle because that's the personality trait that you have? Does that make sense? Like, because to me, freestyle, I always tell people, freestyle is like, the people that are going to cure cancer are going to come from freestyle skating, an extreme sport that requires a lot of thinking, failure, and learning from a fall or a mistake, and regrouping and trying it again until you get it. And so I think that's something that's big. What's your take?
Or people listening to the correct podcast, like your guys's, that hear maybe a few minutes of my information about a pump track that they might not have thought of. Like, if maybe they took 3 words and it helped to get a pump track, that's it. But I don't know exactly your question, how it is, but yeah, I mean, people need a lot of patience. They need to try stuff, but they should also look what's been done and ask questions. Like, if they want to come to me or come to, like, kind of figure it out, I'm pretty clear. I'll tell you exactly. I'm not trying to have this pump track that's mine. It's not. It's a city pump track, but it's like, just in general, like, I want stuff to grow and be better, and I want to see more smiles. Like, I've never seen so many smiles like than either at the shop or at the pump track. And I go there every probably couple days, and it's like, just the stoke is so high, and it's like,
take a lap for me, dude. Just do one, like, do your regular thing, dude. Do one more for me. And I think the question that I'm asking though is being a freestyler, you always had to overcome. We were talking earlier about like hitchhikers, right? So you came, that's something that was difficult. You wanted to do it, you found a solution, you saw it all the way through. Do you think that is part of your personality, because of freestyle, or do you think you gravitated towards freestyle because that is part of your personality trait? Does that make sense?
I think I have so much freestyle in me that it's equated to life, and I've applied stuff to it, you know. So I don't know which direction I'd be in without it, you know, but freestyles taught me that you can kind of do whatever you want, but you make the move and you finish it, and you choose the direction. So yeah, I truly believe that. So I don't know. I've been self-taught at such a young age, at 12, about bikes, and with full support of my parents. You know, my dad says to this day, it's like he's my success story. You know, he introduces me, blah blah, and it's like, I don't know why you keep saying that, but it's like I guess I get it. You know, it's a pride and being proud. You know, and I think once you get to a point, you should do that. But I owe it all to, I think, this stuff around BMX and what I've learned and everything, and taking risk and doing everything else. So yeah, it's a huge accomplishment, but it's far from done, because there's a lot more stuff to do. So
amen, brother. It's almost, dude, Craig, it's like someone forgot to tell you that you're Chad DeGroot. You know what I mean? Like, you're so humble and just chill, but I'm like,
yeah,
it's fun. It's funny to me because you're just such a, like, I hate to say normal guy, but you're just so down to earth. You know what I mean? I'm like, it's like chit chatting with like a friend that just happens to be another freestyler.
yeah,
You know
yeah,
what I
yeah.
mean? It's so rad. Thank you so much for coming on.
No, I
and hanging
appreciate
out.
all this. Like, I'm stoked on you guys, what you guys do. Like, if I can make a difference in any which way, and I hope a lot of people listen to this and take something out of it. And I know it went over an hour and 45 minutes, but I hope people hang in there and they have a blast with this and continue to listen to your previous ones too, you know. And it's I'm stoked on like you guys opened my mind to a lot of stuff tonight too, and I'll reflect on it. And yeah, everything's awesome. So I can't thank you guys enough for this. So
I'm excited, dude.
And I gotta say, Chad, man, I don't want to gloss over this, but you know, the last part, this whole discussion about what you're doing in your community, in the areas you live in, and above and beyond and abroad, man, with the, I don't want, you know, definitely don't want to gloss over the fact that you're giving back. You're giving back to your community. You're giving back to the kids. You're giving back to the adults. Anybody who would even consider, you know, wanting to ride BMX now because of you may have that chance to get out there and smile and have that stoke all day. You have a blueprint. You have a recipe for success. And everything, like to Isaac's point, you know, being in freestyle, being a part of BMX, having it in your blood, bro. And knowing that, you know, even after so many falls or so many, you know, trials, there are, you know, tribulations, there are successes with it, bro. And if, like you said, Chad, if anybody can hear this dude and say, I wonder if I could do that in my community. If that one thought happens, and then that thought ends up in front of a board of directors or city council or something, and that person is following through because you said that's what you need to do to be successful, then it all works, you know. And not that it's waiting for that to work, but you know, it's like you're the prime example. And I know another guy like you, Mike Kernich, that lives in my town, who's done the same thing in Northern California, and it gives back. You know, it's so many more levels of appreciation for the sport that you can't really fathom until guys like you step up and give that sense of pride and stokedness that you got from BMX, and been able to give that now to someone else, man. That's so humbling, and it's so refreshing to hear coming from someone, you know, who's had all the accolades, who's been so involved with it, and you're currently, you know, still going. So bro, thank you so much for bringing that up, because I hope someone does listen to this and takes that somewhere in their neighborhood or their community.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I mean, I think me and other riders owe it to our communities, to our kids, to everything, to like, it just radiates. It makes people better people. I feel like I'm a better person, and it's just, you know, it's like these small acts of kindness, but it's also refreshing, to sit back. Like my wife was sitting on the couch today and she was just looking around. She's like, wow, I'm so stoked on our stuff and what we've done and everything like that. I'm like, you got to take a second and you don't have to close your eyes, but look at stuff and just be quiet and like appreciate what's in front of you or what you've accomplished or what you've done, and know there's more stuff, it's like, yeah. And other people will follow. So that's, 100%. So I don't mean to get sappy, but it's the stoke is high.
Dude,
so yeah. Thank
dude,
you
no,
guys.
bro. I'm telling you guys, that is the best advice. Yeah, someone could give another human. I mean, not just freestyle, but I'm talking like, take a minute, man, and just look at your life and
Take a minute, take a second,
Yeah.
just take it. Yes.
appreciate it, because like, okay, dude, this has nothing to do with our podcast. I'm just going to tell you a quick story where what you just said hit me. So last night, I live in Arizona too, and I didn't bring it up because like you said, hey, I moved to Arizona. I'm like, bro, delivering pizza in Arizona is a death wish. I'm just gonna tell you guys right now, drive around in a car that's metal roof in 120-degree heat.
Yep.
It's a dry heat, but so is your oven.
Yeah.
Okay, so driving around in Arizona, like, last night at 10 o'clock, my entire neighborhood, the power goes out, right? And what I'm about to tell, Craig knows, but no one that watches this, because I always complain about it. It's 104 at 2 a.m. in Phoenix in the summertime. It doesn't get under 100 degrees. So the AC goes out and it's ticking. I'm like, man, it's going to be hot here in like an hour. This room is going to be hot.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm so frustrated. And Netflix isn't on, the internet isn't on, nothing. It's just dark. And my poor wife, who is like a school, she's a librarian at school. So she's exhausted because she's had a long day. So she's completely just knocked out, dude. She's done. So poor, unentertained Isaac is laying in bed. And I'm just like, man, this sucks. It's going to get hot. Can't watch TV, can't work on a podcast, can't edit, can't do anything. And then it was just like a moment where the universe is like, look how good you have it. And dude, you don't take those moments to look back and go, you know what? I can still ride a bike. I could sit back and tell myself I'm frustrated I can't do a hitchhiker, or that I never learned hitchhikers, and that I'm afraid of my knee. Mm-hmm. But I don't take the moment to go, I can still ride a bike, and I can ride a wheelie, and I can still have that fun feeling. Like if you really think about it, what's the difference between a hang five and riding a wheelie? You still have that floating free feeling. It's just different, right? Yeah. And so I still get that. And that's a gift that I neglect to appreciate every single day. And so thank you for even saying that, dude, because that's true. Yeah. You guys, this has nothing to do with BMX, but I just hope at the end of this podcast, you just take a moment and appreciate what you have, because that's so true, man.
If you don't, you're missing out. So that's how I feel. I've done it with my businesses, my skate park, my shop, my house, and my kids. I've just sat there and just, you have to do it. And then it's almost a meditation, but it's like, it's something that it just sinks in and it's there, it's embedded in you. So do it. Everybody do it. So
we could come back again and talk, because I still have like five other topics, dude, I really want to talk about, and I just never got around to it. And here we are.
I don't think we touched half of the stuff. So
no, I'm super stoked. Craig, dude, thank you so much for hanging out again. Please tell your wife thank you, because I took you for a whole hour after I told her.
I will tell her for you. No problem, man. Thanks for having me again. And you know what? Super shout out to you, Chad. Thanks so much for showing up here, man. What a great time. What an awesome sit down conversation with you, bro. I'm so stoked to have finally met you and had you on the show. And I know everyone who's hanging out right now, listening to this on our premiere, on the streaming podcast, or sitting down here in the live chat is probably just as stoked as Isaac and I are. So thank your family for your time, bro. And anytime you want to come back, we would love to, just keep going and going. But thanks for the time you spent tonight, man.
Yeah, no problem. I'm sorry to ramble so much, but everything's good. And appreciate it. No regrets on anything. So everything.
Love it.
So appreciate you guys. Lots of love. All right.
Love it, man. Thank you. Craig, take us out, brother.
Yo, man, thanks everyone for showing up here at Big Bike BMX. Our special guest, Chad DeGroot, man, we can't thank you enough again for showing up. And all of our Big Bike BMX family out there listening, you know we love you. Thanks for showing up. We want to thank our show sponsors, OldBones Therapy, KnightBikeCompany, PhoenixBikeCompany, Etnies BMX, and CrushedMX Gloves for sponsoring the show. We love you guys, and thanks for all your support. So, Isaac, with that said, bro, I am out.
All right. I will turn off the